responded, "I guess so, but today I don't think you deserved it." We had another laugh and went about our business. That was my last conversation with Howie. And I'm so thankful to have had that moment with him, because he knew that I was really telling him that I loved him and appreciate him. So this loss is profoundly personal, but it is also profoundly professional. Howie was the bedrock of the Talk of Akron, WNIR. He was the sun that shined so bright, its light obscured the view of the other stars in the sky. Not that he wanted to obscure them, he just couldn't help it. Now that the sun has set, I wish to do what I believe Howie, in all his humility, would have done. Deflect as much of the doting attention and accolades from himself to others with whom he worked. With the setting of the sun, the light of these stars will emerge with a greater brilliance. Howie would want us to go on, and so we shall, in his memory, keeping the flame of local, open-line, non-guest talk radio lit for the community. Goodbye, my friend, and God bless.
For Andrew Risner to come forward.
Howie. I've been fortunate to have met Howie about 20 years. Been a good friend of mine. And I actually met him through St. Anne's football, which Coach talked a little bit about previously, about how he brought him over. And a couple of years after I'd met him, he talked about this charitable organization that he had called New Adventures. And he told me a little bit about it. I was very interested in it. And I heard some of the other friends of mine that were a little bit older had got an opportunity to go on this trip. So he eventually invited me to go on this trip. I was very excited. And, people have heard about all the charitable work that Howie has done. New Adventures is a charitable organization he created about 38 years ago. And the motto of the organization is Direction Today for Tomorrow's Leaders. A lot of people have heard about this trip, think it's about kids going to Florida having fun. Sure, that's part of it. But there's more to it. Howie was a mentor to all the kids who went on this trip, a friend. Helped, it was a group that Howie picked of kids from all different backgrounds, and Howie had that magical power to mesh all the kids together, and the camaraderie that these kids had, I'll never forget that. I've been fortunate enough to go on this trip for now 19 years, and I've just seen Howie with that magic. And for somebody to be able to do something like that is pretty incredible. Howie did this trip out of love for kids, and he did it all out of his pocket as well. And we heard a couple people talk earlier, he never asked for anything in return. So I'm very humbled to have been part of that, and very gracious that Howie allowed me to go not only as a kid, but also to help mentor kids as well as I became a young adult. So for that, I thank him, and certainly his memory and generosity will never be forgotten.
We take a moment now for silent remembrance, for each of us to have our own thoughts, our own memories, our own prayers for Howie. May the words of our mouths and the meditations of our hearts be acceptable to you, Adonai, our God, our rock, and our Redeemer. The poet wrote, "When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old people who wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give to me. I want to leave you something better than words or sound. Look for me and the people I've known or loved. And if you cannot give me away At least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children who need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, please give me away. This morning, may we take these words to heart, knowing that when we love others as Howie did, when we teach and mentor and give and laugh as Howie did, then we will have fulfilled his legacy by making this world a better place. His memory, his legacy, his love, that is our deepest blessing.
And that concluded the service. At that point, as the pallbearers came up to take Howie's casket, and they took him out of the Berkowitz-Kuhlman-Bukat's funeral home. And wasn't it appropriate when they opened in the room that we were in for the service? They opened the door, and what struck me very, very much was the sunshine that just kind of burst in when they opened the door to take the casket out with the pallbearers and take Howie to his final resting place. Today was the burial of Howie Chizek, and you've just listened to a recorded broadcast of the funeral service for Howie Chizek. It was held this morning. Our thanks to the Chizek family, Rabbi Van, who was wonderful, by the way, Berkowitz-Kuhlman-Bukat's funeral home for allowing WNIR to share this service with you. Now, if you wish to remember Howie Chizek, you are invited to make a donation in his name to the Howie Chizek Memorial Fund. That's at Communion of Saints Parish in Cleveland Heights, or to the Gathering Place in Beechwood. Before we take a break, a couple of things I'd like to say. First of all, thank you, Bob Lewis, for editing it. I truly appreciate your effort, and we made the thing a little more condensed so that you folks could hear it. Bob, thank you very much. I really appreciate your help, and thank you so much, and we really do appreciate that. It was a wonderful service, as you heard. I can't say anything better than the speakers did, and I wanted you all to know that the feeling in that room was probably the same feelings you have right now. You didn't have to be there. You could hear this broadcast. You heard the inflections and the voices and the love and the caring, and you heard the gratefulness, by the way, I would like to convey to you from the friends and the family at WNIR. One of the things that continued to happen when I was out in the parking lot afterwards, when I visited some of the Chizek members of their family later this afternoon, early tonight, was the one thing they wanted me, I'm sure, to convey to you was what they all talked about there in the services, that they have been absolutely overwhelmed and stunned in a wonderful way by the comments that you all have made and the way that you folks have conducted yourself in these trying days. I will save a lot more comments for you. I will say this: on Saturday, it was a rough, rugged week that has not totally concluded. I think tomorrow night when I'm sitting in here, we have a few more tricks up our sleeve to kind of put a bow on this thing, but it certainly today felt good. As much as we cry and as much as we laugh today, I think the one thing is that came to my mind as I drove back from my old neighborhood I used to live up in the Heights area, and I kept thinking to myself about how many hours he must have spent in the Heights area just down the street from where this was, over at Cleveland Heights High School, just a block or two down, where he, of course, graduated. And the thing that keeps striking me over and over again is that how would that kid going and attending Cleveland Heights High School, a kid that was in the choir, a kid that whose dad was a car salesman, could he have ever known that at the age of 65, when his passing would come, that so many people would admire him, love him, and thank him for what he had done? I wonder if that teenage kid, Howie Chizek, would have ever known what was to become of him. And folks, we never knew when we were kids that we would be given 38 years of amazing talk radio. I'll be back to take your calls in a moment.
with the Home Depot's red, white, and blue savings. Get select patio sets for up to 50% off. Put your savings to work on an outdoor rug, plants, and hanging baskets, so you create a relaxing backyard oasis without stressing out your budget one bit. Thanks to red, white, and blue savings this 4th of July. Like up to 50% off patio sets. More saving, more doing. That's the power of the Home Depot. While supplies last, U.S. only. See store for details.
The Funny Stop. They've been the hotspot for comedy in the Akron area for over 20 years. Top name comedians, great food, the best entertainment value in town. The Funny Stop, your one stop for a great night out. This week is the high energy comedy of Ray DeVito with his crazy, whacked out observation of life. One of the hottest comics on tour today. Call now 923-4700 and reserve your table this week for Ray DeVito. And speaking of hot comics, coming next week is a true comedy superstar, Jake Johansson, and his bizarre take on life and funny stories. Call the Funny Stop now to reserve your table, because Jake Johansson is sure to sell out the club. Call 923-4700 or check funnystop.com for complete details and discounts. Voted the #1 stop for live comedy for the 5th straight year. It's the Funny Stop. Call 923-4700. This place kills me. Enjoy world-class cuisine with a casual twist at Bacchus Lounge, open for lunch and after 4 p.m. Enjoy Bacchus burgers, Stonehearth pizza, and incredible fried chicken. Tonight it's $5 gourmet burgers with cheese and up to 3 toppings. Bacchus Lounge, right back of Russo's at 4895 State Road near Seasons Road, Peninsula.
This is David Haller of Service, and you're listening to the Talk of Akron, WNIR, Kent, Akron.
The spirit of Akron on WNIR. Come on and listen, the Talk of Akron, WNIR.
Tom Erickson Show. Jim Isabella sitting in. We'll be here today and tomorrow night as well. I hope you enjoyed the service. It spoke for itself. I don't need to do a monologue. Let's just get to it. WNIR, good evening. WNIR, good evening. Hello there.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
I think I've probably been bugging you guys a lot.
Well, everybody's bugging everybody, but at least it's a good way.
Well, yeah, you have to.
That's survival. That's what this is. What's on your mind?
Well, I've been trying to get in a message to, the whole staff and everything there about Harry Nelson. And I have the lyrics in front of me, actually. And it's called Think About Your Troubles.
Yeah, you mentioned that, I believe, right?
Is.
Yeah, you can email it to us.
Well, sit beside the breakfast table. Think about your troubles. Pour yourself a cup of tea. Then think about the bubbles. You can take your teardrops, and drop them in a teacup. Take them down to the riverside and throw them over the side to be swept away by a current. But, and it goes on. His legend will live on.
Oh, yeah. And I think that, like I said, one thing that I keep going back to, look, if you really believe in something, and I've said it probably to several members of the staff, I have determined, and I said, all I'm going to tell you is when Monday morning comes, I'll be sitting in for Howie Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, I think it's next week. And, as we kind of go where we would have been at that point in time, I'm going to be a pistol to deal with probably, but I'm easing out of it this week, and we're going to put a bow on some things at the end of the week, and we will continue to talk about things that are relevant in terms of Howie and how you feel. And then I think we'll know, I think next week, after we have a weekend to kind of just chill out a little bit, I think we're all going to feel a little better, a little different, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and I think any of the listeners out there, if they could actually dig it up, or if they want to buy it, I mean, mine's
WNIR, good evening. Hello there, WNIR, good evening. Hello there, come to your phone.
Yes, why don't you guys move on?
I'm sorry?
Just move on. The man's dead, just move on.
Okay, we'll move away from you. WNIR.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Hello?
No, I'm not good Lord, I'm Jim. No, the Lord, Howie's talking to the Lord right now. Now, God, do I get my 2,500-foot square home?
Hey, God rest his soul.
Thank you.
But anyhow, what I always remember about him, he always say, never loan your family money, because you'll never get it back. and then there was always that baby's mama or something like that.
Oh, he talk about the baby's mama thing, yes, or baby mamas or baby daddies, and oh my goodness, yes.
He was a great guy.
Well, you know,
you guys, you know, it was great that you all worked with him.
oh, it was our privilege, absolutely. In fact, I told people, I did a little confession today. I told somebody, they said, well, did you worry about sitting in for Howie? And I looked at him and I said, here's the difference between sitting in for Howie than anybody else that I've ever worked for, is that, look, this guy had a great audience, a smart audience, so it was never like, here, kids, here's A, here's B. He was never like that. I could just talk and let it go, and I felt comfortable because, you know, Howie had a great, intelligent audience as opposed to, you know, some talk shows which cultivate, you know, belching and everything else. He always had wonderful people, and I always felt comfortable because of what he cultivated and the relationship he had with his audience.
Yes, and every time he went on vacation, I hated it. Because I didn't...
Thanks a lot. Now you make me feel bad.
No, I didn't know who they was going to bring in.
Yeah, I understand.
I just hated it when he went on vacation, just like when this happened. I said, well, he'll be back in a week, because that was Friday. He was going on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
And then this happened. I said, oh, then I didn't tell myself all week, well, he'll be back in a week. Yeah, so, no, everything will go all right, but he was a very good man.
Oh, yeah. And you know, your greatest feeling is, and I swear to you on my mother's grave, that if Howie was going to go, this is probably about a good way to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Because Bob early kind of mentioned something about, you know, Howie was kind of fearful of things.
Yeah.
And for him, A, not to be in a nursing home, and B, God forbid, and I'm so glad he never had something like cancer or something like that. Any of us who've been through it have had friends, and I'm sure every one of you have had that.
Yeah.
It is so awful, and I know how tough it is on the families. And so for Howie, as tough as it is to lose him quickly, also keep this in mind. Howie was not going to go travel the world. He was not that type of guy. He had his set regiment. He loved going down to Disney. He went down to Williamsburg. He did a couple things. And I'm sure he would have done some other things. But it wasn't like he had to conquer any radio world. He did that. He gave us the longest running talk show in history. He took it from just an idea to, as you heard Bob Klaus talk about his father, Richard, and they built something that everybody said, you're out of your mind to do, and they turned it into a success. That's called being a pioneer, as well as a wonderful human being.
The only thing I never understood, he never did talk about his family.
Well, because Howie...
He's a very private man.
Well, and I think that the difference is some guys on talk radio, and this is preference. Like Bob Golick and I will talk about our kids from time to time because, you know, we've all been parents, or there's grandparents, or there's people with young people out there, and we all kind of talk about what's on their minds as it relates to where we are in the real world. But Howie, because he was a mentor to so many people, if you really heard him, his family was the friends. A lot of times people he was talking about, from Neighbor Nate on, were people he knew, people he'd found out things about, and one of the reasons he kept it fresh is because he knew what the real world was. And because he kept you from knowing where he got that stuff, which was from friends and so on and so forth, he was able to relate to you and me and what we were going through because he was out in the real world, but he didn't tell you where he was in the real world in terms of that.
Because, you know, everybody would ask him, you know, about a holiday, well, what are you going to be doing? He says, oh, probably sitting at home with an acquaintance. he says, just relaxing. So.
Yeah, and he had, I was at his, stopped by the house today,